Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Full Send Racing Series on Tuesday night here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. It's still the middle of the playoffs for this series as it's the beginning of the round of 8, the first race of 2 for this round, and it's the ButtKicker 210 here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. But if anything, we might want to change it to Atlanta Super Speedway. This new configuration is going to be allowing a lot of pack racing. The draft is so important. And drivers ready to start this first round, which is going to be a chaotic one. The most wild card round you could ever ask for. You've got that of Atlanta Motor Speedway here, the new configuration, and as well, Martinsville next week to see who will run for a championship in that of 3 weeks. Cannot wait for it. And joining me here tonight is what a way to start. Drivers bounced out this previous round, but this is going to be exciting to see how these drivers attack this course.
Oh, it's going to be so exciting to watch here tonight at the new configuration of Atlanta. I expect to see pack racing, 2x2 racing pretty much all night long. Green flag pit stops, if we get there, could be interesting with how hard it is to get onto pit road here tonight. But we're going to be in for one heck of a show and one heck of a round with Martinsville being the cutoff race to get into that championship 4.
As here is what the standings are looking like for this round. 4 drivers were eliminated after last week, the Indianapolis road course, as that was going to be Christopher Wade, as well as Jonathan Woods, Nick Holland, and that of Jonathan K-Spear. They all had great runs. Congratulations on making it to the playoffs, but their run for a championship has been cut off. 8 drivers are still here, though. It's going to be that.
Anything's possible for that 77 machine. Could be finding himself in a position to either get himself into the top 4 or maybe win and lock himself into that championship 4 race at Phoenix. And then, you know, Cameron Sarton coming in 2 points out of that top 4 position, the 2-time champ, still yet to win a race this season, coming in below the cut line.
Yeah, and being below the cut line for that of Sarton, certainly going to be a lot of eyes to watch out for. How's the 24 going to run here this evening? Because tonight, going to be a lot about teamwork and team effort. Sadly, we weren't able to give you the coverage of the Talladega race that finished off the regular season. But what a race that was. Getting to see Jonathan K-Spear find himself get the win at that race. It was a last lap, last corner pass that saw that of Andrew Medlin seeing his hopes of being in the playoffs snuffed out in that race. This 12 looking for redemption as the drivers are underway with qualifying. Andrew Medlin, this is his last lap for qualifying. Where will he lie? 11th on his first lap based on that timing. This second lap, though, bounces the 12 up to 3rd.
Yeah, good second lap for himself. He's going to put him right behind his teammate Kim Campbell if this qualifying order sticks. Which not surprising to see those freaky fast guys up there near the top of the time charts. Here comes that of Zach Hall to complete his second lap in qualifying. We'll see where this bumps the 32 up to. So he's going to go up to that of, I believe, 8th position for Zach Hall in that 32 machine.
And 8th ain't a bad spot to be, but the middle of this track, the middle of this field, going to be a chaotic spot to be, because we're going to have over 20 drivers going to be attacking this Atlanta course, where it's going to be 136 laps in total. We will have a stage break at the end of lap 40 with no fast repair, 4 sets of tires in pit road. And you're seeing it on screen. It's the blue. Drivers have the blue over their name on our ticker board. Those are the drivers that are in our playoffs still running for the championship. Again, it's the road to Phoenix where the drivers will get our final 4 to win the championship. As this track, the pack racing, Trevor, certainly very different from some other Atlanta races that we've seen with the old configuration. This track's certainly still a handful to hit for these drivers.
Yeah, you're still going to have a little bit of the characteristics of old Atlanta. We've heard from some of the drivers during practice that the tire wears, particularly on the right rear, is very high. So tire wear could be a thing, and you know that's one of the old characteristics from the old configuration. The thing that you have to watch out for the most is going to be pack racing and being on top of one another pretty much all night long. These drivers are going to have to be aware of that and be mindful of pretty much the whole night.
And with drivers that are going to be in the blue and playoff contenders, seeing so many of them outside of the top 10, this could turn things very aggressive on drivers trying to make sure they're in those top 10 positions at the end of our stage break, as top 10 drivers get bonus points that we saw to be very crucial on making it to the next round. And another driver that's very shocking that made it this far into the playoffs, John Dart, a very strong run that he got to have last week at the Indianapolis Road Course. That 99, he's gonna need a very strong run here tonight, as his brother Travis Dart, right when the ticker hit 0, the 26 steals the pole position.
I think that's pole number 4 or 5 for Travis this season. I mean, qualifying has been this man's strong suit all season, or pretty much all season long, and at the whistle gets the pole position from that of Ken Campbell. So, hey, Travis going for, he's still got 3 races to try to get a win this season, and we're super speedway racing, and anything's possible. He had a good run at Talladega, so not at all surprised to see that 26 machine up front.
Looked at it, this is going to be his officially 3rd pole of the season. His other 2 were at mile and a half tracks as well, Las Vegas and Charlotte. Similar track in size and shape, but the speed's going to be slightly different as the 26 takes the pole award. Ken Campbell going to be in 2nd position, Ross Tatum in 3rd, Andrew Medlin 4th, with Joshua Altus 5th, Charles Hugel 6th, 7th going to be Austin Call. In 8th position is the one of Will Bustler. Nick Holland going to be a fill-in driver in the 42 for Cole Sketty, who's not able to race here tonight, and he'll be starting in 9th with Philip Chavez finishing out your top 10.
Zach Hall will roll off in 11th with Cameron Sargent in 12th, Chris Stitz in 13th, Sam Siegel in 14th, Dylan Glass filling in for Nick Holland, who's filling in for Cole Siketti in the 68, will roll off in 15th, Christopher Wade in 16th, Jonathan Casebeer in 17th, John Dart 18th with Brian Cole in 19th, and Ryan Lynch will round out our top 20 drivers.
21st is going to be that of Ryan Lynch. Bill Dart in 22nd, filling in for the 52 of Lau Christensen. Race control and the 000 is Steve Benjamin. Thank you so much for everything that you do for this league, Steve. With Doug Pierce in the 24th position, and it's great to see Doug Pierce back out racing. Doug in the 39 machine was dealing with some back issues that forced him out of driving in real life as well in virtual, and he was given the all clear this week, and excited to see what Doug's going to bring out on a track like Atlanta where anyone's got a chance. This is going to be excited to see how these drivers attack this course with what should be 23 drivers racing here tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun race to watch and call all night long, and I think we're just missing that of Kyle Carpenter, Sam. He didn't qualify and still is yet to grid, and that, not sure if he's dealing with some internet issues, but already issues for a playoff driver before we even get to the green flag.
And as well, going to be issues with Doug Pierce not able to get into his vehicle. Most likely, if they do get in their car, they're going to be having to start on pit road, and with this track and how fast it is and how slow you are by yourself, this is a nightmare for the 77, but I know that he was having issues just trying to get into the server when it was under practice conditions. 77, a very scary spot for himself here tonight. If he misses out on this race, it's going to force him into a must-win scenario at Martinsville next week, where none of these drivers want to be outside looking in our point standings heading into Martinsville, because that short track can be a handful. As you get the sights of Atlanta here, drivers are going through 3 and 4. You can see them entering, getting prepared. It's going to be Travis Dart, Ken Campbell up front. How this race is going to start going to be so crucial on getting yourself in a great track position, getting with teammates, staying in line, and stay out of trouble. Who will immediately go to the back? Who's going to immediately push to the forward? Let's find out as the pace car pulls off. It's the ButtKicker 210. The start of the round of 8 is underway. We're green for the Full Send Racing Series Season 4 playoffs, and it's all that of the 26 gapping himself from the rest of the field.
Got a pretty good launch there, but a pretty equal launch from the 15 of Ken Campbell as well. Medlin's going to go ahead and drop on down and pick up his teammate. That's going to leave the 26 of Travis Dart all by himself on the outside line. He's going to get freight trained here by not only that of Andrew Medlin, but the 21 of Ross Tatum. And here comes the 30 of Charles Hugel as well, trying to get to the inside as nobody's going up there to help the 26 of Travis Dart.
Yeah, it's difficult to find friends when no one was able to stay with you. And over the radio, he's automatically saying, well, I guess my line didn't take off. No, it did not. And Ken Campbell, Andrew Medlin, the teammates back in line, and it feels like this is how almost every race since the halfway point of the season has started out. It's the teammates, 1-2.
Yeah, it's been that way since back, I think, dating back to Pocono. Those two have been bumper to bumper in some form or another, working with one another. But we're missing the 32 of Zach Hall, who's kind of mired back here in the pack, taking it easy. Got a pretty good points cushion for himself coming into tonight, but just kind of riding around is that top line starting to form up now with Joshua Altus going up there to help out the 26. He's got the 18 of Austin Call with him and the 24 of Cameron Sarton. So the top line looking to get formed up here, Sam, and start working its way forward.
Trying to build out where you're going to be for these drivers as we're riding on board with Joshua Altus, seeing the 30 machine going straight to the apron as he wants to get out of the way. It was getting way too hectic for some of those drivers. Also a slightly bad bump to Charles Hugel as he's going to try to attach himself to the tail end of this lead group as we're riding on board with the 94. It is narrow, chaotic, and honestly, this track, the way that they reconfigured it from the track that it was before, they added more banking, they narrowed the track so it was a lot tighter. But man, does this track just roar at times when the pack is at full song.
Yeah, it's really, really cool the way they did this, but it's going to be right here out of 3 and 4 where it really narrows up. They still have the dog leg, but they narrowed it up with the red and white, or the white and red line is out of bounds, and you can just see how much it narrows up and how close these guys come together with one another when they're running side by side through that dog leg. So that's going to be a point of interest here tonight, especially later in the race when these guys get more aggressive. That could be a trouble spot for these drivers.
Who's going to be risky in which position? Who's going to get out of the way? And currently right now, after just a few laps in, some of our biggest movers currently is going to be the fill-in driver of Dylan Glass in the 68 machine. A little bit interesting to see that of Nick Holland as well as Dylan Glass filling in for different drivers, as the 68 is actually that of Nick Holland's actual number. So it was actually Trevor and I, we were both scratching our heads, kind of confused on why Nick Holland transferred in and wanted to fill in for the 42. But hey, the more the merrier on the fact that we were able to get as many drivers as we did here this evening.
Yeah, and you know, if we call the 68 Nick Holland, forgive us. I mean, Nick's still running his normal paint scheme, the white and red Mountain Dew scheme. Problem is, he's just got the 42 on the door, so it might take us a couple laps to get used to that. But it's good to see, you know, the fill-in drivers filling in for guys when needed and keeping this field at a healthy number. And right now, I mean, Dylan Glass putting on a good show as he's trying to work his way forward right now behind that 24 of Cameron Sarton.
You got to trust whatever lane you're in is going to be starting to move forward, and that's exactly what the outside lane is doing now. Travis Dart back to the point. Didn't get to lead lap 1, but he'll try to lead lap number that of 7 as he comes out of turn number 4, looking for a bump from Altus, but he might not need it. But across the line, it is 0.004 of a second, and Ken Campbell leads that lap, showing how close it could become at the end of this race if these drivers stay like this all the way through.
Could be a matter of inches who gets a better push out of turn number 4 that might decide our winner, or just who can you know, survive the chaos as that we saw at Talladega coming out of turn number 4. Could be the same thing here tonight. So it's all about positioning yourself toward the end of the race to be in a position to maybe win this race. But right now, those teammates still on that bottom line, looking strong, holding off the charge from that outside line.
A lot of bobbling going on for these drivers. We're 9 laps in. Trevor, you touched on it right at the top of the broadcast. This watt tear, this tire wear is going to become a factor at some point. My guess was around lap 20. Based off of what you were telling me, it could be even happening sooner than that on what the drivers and the handling wise is going to be translating through.
Yeah, I think if you're running the outside line, you're probably going to wear out that right rear tire a little bit more with how much strain you're putting on it to hold the momentum. The inside line could be a little bit tight, so we could see a case of the inside line pushing up, the outside line getting loose as this run continues. And I think you're probably pretty spot on. 20 to 25 laps is probably where I'm going to guess that tire wear starts to kick in for these guys, but we'll have to wait and see what happens or when it does, and what's going to happen when that tire wear does kick in.
One thing we do know is an absolute. It's going to be our stage yellow at the end of lap 40 for these drivers. We know we're going to at least have stage caution, but if a caution flag waves at that lap 35 to 36, or lap 35 to 36 to lap 40 before the official stage yellow is thrown, that will count as the stage. So we could be seeing those final 5 laps of the stage get very hectic for these drivers because they all need to be inside of the top 10. And if you're looking on screen, you can see on our ticker board the drivers that are in blue. Those are the drivers that are in the playoffs. They're trying to be inside of the top 10. And as well, you'll see on the trucks with the blue banner, the blue splitter, and spoiler, indicating that those drivers are in the playoffs as well.
It makes it really easy for the people at home watching to see who's in the playoffs and where they're running at. and then visually out there on track where they're at as well. I think Will Bustler's still in. He's got the blue spoiler on his red truck tonight, running down there right behind Ross Tatum in the 21 machine. I still gotta say this inside line. I'm surprised with how grouped up the outside line got, Sam, that they didn't clear that inside line quite yet. And Tatum and Bustler really aren't giving much help to Medlin in that of Ken Campbell.
I think also we weren't seeing this aggressive pushing action as they weren't really stacked up as aggressively. And I think a lot of that has to be attributed to the fact that the third truck in line, Austin Call, is giving plenty of space, just letting the top two drivers, Altus and Travis Dart, kind of do all the work themselves. And there could be a little bit of radio action, drivers communicating, hey, give me more space. I don't feel comfortable here. As this run progresses on, they're going to have to figure out how to give each other plenty of space. And I think the pinching action we usually talk about at other mile-and-a-half courses where you're trying to hinder the drivers on the inside from getting back into the throttle, not as much of a factor because of, the fact of how banked these corners are, but certainly still a scare on the wind factor on if these drivers can accidentally get each other loose or get each other sent up into the outside wall.
Yeah, I think the side draft that we typically see at Talladega, Daytona, not going to be so prevalent here just with how much these trucks move around in the corner, especially when they have other drivers right behind them that are trying to push them. But, maybe later in the race we'll see that aggression, and that's where, getting the wind off the quarter panel of these trucks could really cause some issues. Is a good run there from Travis Dart down the backstretch. Still not quite clear that 15 of Ken Campbell as he lost a little bit of help from his teammate of Andrew Medlin, but looks like Travis Dart might get to lead this lap finally here on lap 15.
As he's on the outside, will lead that lap after also a little bit of a jostling that happened. The drivers up front, Philip Chavez, now feeling comfortable. He'll dive to that of the apron and then will fall back to last place, battling with Phil Dart. But up front, they continue to stay side by side. The majority of the field still connected in the draft. But they've got to be careful if you're one of those drivers at the end of the line. It is very easy to lose the draft either with staying side by side and side drafting or checking up a little bit too much when these drivers start to have more of the accordion effect breaking through. And I think that's what we're seeing. A lot of these drivers deeper in the field, Trevor, they're giving each other plenty of space, so if they do need to check up, they're not losing as much momentum.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting to see the difference in styles. We talk about it every time we go to a super speedway race. You have the drivers that want to get up front, stay up front, and then the guys that kind of ride in the back and wait for the chaos to have in front of them. Zach Hall, the points leader, running back in 17th. Then you have John Dart, further on back in the field, down there in 18th position. Both of these drivers just kind of riding around in the back, waiting to see if there's issues in front of them, because there's no fast repair here tonight, Sam. So any damage that these drivers do occur, they have to keep for the rest of the race or try to get repaired on pit road. So not a bad strategy from these two. But for John, coming in 6 points out of the top four, you'd like to see him maybe get up there and try to get some stage points, but also not a bad idea to save that truck for later in the race.
Absolutely not. As we're right on board the 99 machine, getting a sense on what it's like deeper in the field, and the fact that you can see both lines, trying to see if there's a wreck, if he has time to react to it, because we always know there's a chance for the big one to strike. But here at Atlanta, there is chances, and I've seen plenty of races where it can go pretty much green until maybe the last 10 laps, where a late caution can come out because drivers get a lot more aggressive and kind of not caring as much on what the vehicle state is as they're going for every position possible. But interesting thing to see, that whole their outside lane kind of started to disperse and dissolve right now. It completely disappeared. We're down to just two drivers up front on the outside, and it's that of Joshua Altus and Travis Dart. Once again, it's just these two keeping the power and the throttle up to stay side by side with the front runners.
Yeah, I think Cameron Sarton dropped out of that line, dropped in behind the 17 of Chris Stitz, and kind of, I think, checked up Austin Call and Dylan Glass in the 18 and the 68. So now they're trying to motor back up there and catch back up to Altus and Travis, but can't quite get there. They're about two to three trucks behind them, but trying to get back up there and get some momentum to that outside line. But Altus and Travis Dart doing a really good job just with the two of them hanging on to Ken Campbell and Andrew Medlin.
Halfway through this stage is this really more and seeing how close these drivers can be. There's a lot of bumping with one another. Austin Cole almost forcing it 3 wide. You give Will Bustler some space, and for Will Bustler, being a driver, 7 points out from the good, as he is 7th in points, 7 points back from Ken Campbell, and even more points off of Chris Stitz, Ross Tatum, and Zach Paul. This one could not afford to get damaged and lose out on stage points. That could be just the playoff championship run cancellation if he gets into any big wreck now.
Yeah, it could have been disastrous there for him. I think it was just a bad bump from Austin Cole. You saw it on the nose cam there that we were on board with. Just got a little bit to his inside, gave him a bump. But, you know, this early in the race, a good move there from Austin to back off, let the one back down in the line. So no harm, no foul there. But I'm sure Will a little bit nervous with that bump. It might be a little bit nervous seeing the 18 behind him if bumps like that continue to happen.
Nerve-wracking racing continues the surge on. Looking at some drivers, though, that are outside looking in. With these laps continuing to tick away, there's some drivers that are still outside of our top 10 that may be looking for some major points. Chris Stitz only had a 4-point buffer over Cameron Sarton. He is finding himself just outside the top 10, 14th. And in 15th, you see here the 24 in the green and white Mickey Mouse machine. It's Cameron Sarton, the two-time champ, trying to find himself to get up front, but struggling to find any opening. It's just a wall right now, Trevor, and there's no way to really truly advance at this moment.
Yeah, nowhere for him to really go, and I think he's realized that. He was behind Chris Stitz, and then the outside line kind of filled up with the 9, the Zach Hall, and then Christopher Wade in the 53 there, and so Sarton just kind of backs out of it. And drops to the tail end of this line behind the 8 of Jonathan Casebeer. But now Zach Hall's going to kind of bail out of that group and lead this, what is the de facto second pack.
The second group just about a little bit off from where they want to be. Zach Hall finding himself just half still attached to the draft. Is the question of, do I want to fully back out of this situation or stay grouped up? Because you look at our ticker board, there is not a lot of blue in our top 10, which is shocking to see, but this could be a major gain for Ken Campbell, who was that cutoff driver, as well as Will Bustler, that was 7th in points. This could be giving Will an opportunity to point his way into the Final Four into next week, which next week, Trevor's certainly going to be a madhouse of a race in Martinsville before we head to Phoenix.
Yeah, I mean, you think of this round, you go super speedway racing, then you go short track racing in Martinsville. And then with it being a cutoff race, I mean, I expect to see a lot of beating and banging with drivers trying to get stage points, trying to get the win or as many positions as they can to point themselves in. And it, depending on how this race goes, could be a fairly close battle. I mean, looking at the points, Chris Stitz and Campbell together were only 6 points to the good from the cutoff line over that of Cameron Sarton and John Dart. And Bustler and Kyle Carpenter are only another, 7 and 9 points respectively from them to get in. But Carpenter not being able to make the race is going to put him in a must-win situation. But for Bustler, this could give him an opportunity that if a couple drivers have a bad race next week at Martinsville, that he could find himself pointing his way into the championship race at Phoenix.
And looking at how these drivers are running right now and who's going to be gaining some of these points and drivers that aren't, I would be the most concerned about Chris Stitz, who's running 12th, now up to 11th. He's staying on the inside groove, hoping the inside lane is going to be able to pull away. But 17 might want to think about bouncing to the outside once he has an opening, try to gain some positions. As Travis Dart, those tires worn out, and I think he might have tapped that outside wall trying to get out of the way, and the tire wear striking the 26.
Yeah, just had a moment there out of 4, got loose, got up. I almost got into the wall, might have tapped it just a little bit, but just like that, goes from battling for the lead all the way to the tail end of this pack. I think he still might be inside. He should drop him back to, I believe, 13th or 14th position, but you see the tire wear, Sam, starting to affect these drivers here 30 laps into the run. And for Travis, really good job saving that, but a big scare for the pack.
Hey, I'll bite my tongue on that one. Chris Stitz, because he was on the inside lane, he didn't lose all the ground he could have lost if he was listening to my strategy calls. As the 17 now right on the cutoff line of trying to stay close to getting some stage points. And another driver that needs some big stage points, Cameron Sarton, getting the giddy up and moving forward as well.
Yeah, Sarton trying to get going forward. The 8 of Jonathan Casebeer had a big moment through 1 and 2 where he got onto the apron, got loose. He was able to corral the 8 machine and keep it going straight. But Sarton trying to find some somewhere to go, currently in 14th, or I'm sorry, up to 12th, 9 laps to go. Sam, where is he going to go? It's 2x2 all the way in front of him. There's nowhere for this 24 machine to go.
You just got to push and woo the driver in front of you to maybe close in the gap, try to be get more aggressive, which is at cost. Something we haven't touched on is building up heat and going potentially damaging your engine. Either cranking up the heat on your water or oil temp could ruin your engine, it could kill it, which could cause you to be in a wreck, or just cause the big one in general. So drivers always in mind of how close they truly want to get to the driver in front of them.
Yeah, unlike, at Talladega and Daytona, there's really no room to get out of the way here in Atlanta unless you go on that apron down the back straightaway. So if a driver has issues, say a blown motor, or needs to, pull out of line because the engine's overheating, there's really nowhere to get out of the way, and that could cause big issues for the field, especially if it's somebody up near the front.
At this current moment, not seeing a lot of drivers doing any true aggressive moves just yet, except for the fill-in driver in the 68 machine. Dylan Glass is running up front in the top 5, leading the outside lane, and oh no, Ken Campbell, Andrew Medlin tapped wrong, and the big one strikes. They try to stay straight, but it's not gonna happen. A huge wreck on lap 33, and it's the teammates. Bad bump, and the tires don't last, and drivers are saying goodnight to their run here in Atlanta.
Just like that, a bad bump, and from teammates of all people. Medlin gets into the back of Campbell. Campbell does a great job saving it, but Will Bussler involved. Zach Hall, Cameron Sarton with big damage as well. The 26 of Travis Dart, I believe, also involved in this, Sam. And just that's all it takes. One bad bump, old tires, and carnage ensues.
Yeah, it's Travis Dart, Andrew Medlin, Brian Cole, all with required damage. They have to go into pit road, but there were a lot of drivers, like you named there, Trevor, caught up in this mess. As we're getting the replay up, just a bad bump. I mean, that's crazy to see the teammates. I mean, usually it's later on when they're being super aggressive, but maybe they felt the pressure of the outside lane building up, but it's right here on the entry of the corner. Just a bad bump on the quarter panel, and it sends the 15 around, and that accordion effect, just no one has a chance to slow down here.
Yeah, I just Campbell went for a little later of an arc maybe, and Medlin wasn't expecting that and just got him right in the left rear and shoots him up. Dylan Glass lucky to not really get involved in that. Campbell does a great job saving that, but right here, Will Bussler, nowhere to go. He's trying to spin it out, get out of the way. He gets tapped, and then Medlin just goes right back up the racetrack, nowhere for Travis Dart to go, and then comes right back down. You see Stitz involved, Holland's involved, and right there in front of Cameron Sarton gets in it, gets into Zach Hall a little bit. Chavez with some heavy damage as well. And that's super speedway racing here in Atlanta. There's nowhere to hide when a wreck happens in front of you.
There really isn't. And this changes up a lot of these drivers, as we're going to take a couple of more looks at this incident because of how massive this is and critical it is. Here's the ride along with Philip Chavez in the 101, and just he sees smoke and he's trying to slow down, doing his best, goes down the apron, smart move, but just nowhere to go for himself as there's Andrew Medlin, which triggers him to go straight into the inside wall.
Yeah, almost had it, would have, I think, made it through had Medlin not hit Cameron Sarton there and kept spinning him down the racetrack. But Chavez, I mean, did everything he could, went to the inside, thought he had it cleared, and then all of a sudden there's the 12 machine in his windshield. And then right here on board with John Dart in the 99, he sees it happening up in the outside line and basically just puts the brakes on. Oh, and he gets the outside wall with the truck breaking loose under braking, so damage for the 99 machine.
And that's just because he was locking it down and was hoping that he would be all right, but it just slid back up. But the big one, striking on lap 33. Again, 3 drivers with required damage. That's going to be Travis Dart, Brian Cole, as well as Andrew Medlin. That's the 26, the 9, and the 12. All still in pit road, but drivers had to come into pit road to get damage repaired. That is 10th all the way back to 21st position, having to get damage repaired for themselves. And as well, the timing of this caution, and with the amount of drivers caught up in with the mess, Kyle Carpenter is back out on track. He missed the start of the race. He's 34 laps down, but at least with drivers being knocked out of this race potentially, it's a couple of positions the 77 can grab for himself and try to at least minimize the amount of damage that would have been if he didn't show up at all.
Yeah, I mean, it might help him out here coming in. He's going to be 34 to 35 laps down, but good break for him at least. There's some playoff drivers involved in that, and more, and some more with damage. So might be able to pick up a couple spots and help him out. But still, I think going to be in a must-win scenario along with a couple of other of our playoff drivers going next week into Martinsville.
Well, for that, if Kyle Carpenter might be thinking, oh, I'm in trouble, I don't have my teammate behind me anymore. Well, as a former teammate of his, now it's Christopher Wade in the 53, who's running all the way back, practically in last place for most of this run. He'll be the second truck in line on the inside. And this dynamic duo has won almost every super speedway course that, if you look back to other leagues that we covered, these two can win at almost anything, and I'm curious if they could show some dominance here tonight. Green flag is back out in the air as drivers trying to cycle into position. Ross Tatum trying to defend and not allow Zach Hall to drop down low. Not going to happen, as now the 21, he's got to watch the top three just pull away.
Yeah, just no help there for of Ross Tatum. Zach Hall trying to get in behind his teammate of Ken Campbell, and that of Christopher Wade just doing a good job there on that restart, covering that off. So we're going to break away. Tatum's going to look to the outside, though, to see if he can get a little bit of momentum, but he's going to need some help from the 55 of Sam Siegel, who Sam having a great run up to 5th for himself, getting through all that carnage, along with John Dart, who at one point Sam wasn't going to get any stage points in that 99, even with a little bit of contact to the outside wall, has a chance for some stage points here.
And one thing to watch out for that's so different from other super speedway tracks is tire wear being such a big factor. Drivers did take tires. That of Joshua Altus, Austin Call on the outside lane. Watch out. They might try to make some big moves with the fresh rubber that they just grabbed, and willing to go for some big stage points. Now, they're not in the playoffs, but they certainly could try to shake things up here if they decide to go 3 wide at any point during this run, because we've got ourselves 2 laps to go before the stage is done.
I think that's the last thing Ross Tatum really wants, is to see somebody go 3 wide with him. Is Altus all over the rear bumper of that 21. You can just see he has a little bit more grip, able to keep the power planted through the center of the corner here and get a big shot to the back of the 21 machine, trying to push him up to the front here past Ken Campbell. But just, it looks like Tatum's a little bit too uncomfortable through the center of the corner to keep that momentum going.
They ought to be staying in line, cross the line. This is it. This lap, either with a caution of an on-track incident, or once they cross the line, we're going to be a scene of yellow. Only the top 10 drivers get stage points. So if you're outside the top 10, you got to get moving. If you're Chris Stitz or others that have blue marking on our ticker board, as it is all Ross Tatum having a friend from other leagues. Joshua Altus trying to give the bump to allow the 21 to win the stage here. Ken Campbell looking for friends and allies behind as well. The 15 going to be ahead. Will he move up to defend this position? He'll stay in line, and it's Ken Campbell winning the stage as the yellow flag flies for our stage break.
I thought we were going to have some issues there. It looked like Joshua Altus was going to get to the inside of the 21 of Ross Tatum and might have given him a bad bump. That could have sent the 21 spinning around, but good job there from the 94 machine not giving that bump to Ross. But Campbell survives the big wreck there. The bad bump from his teammate gets the stage win for himself, and Ross Tatum comes home second.
As the driver slowed down to let the pace car fly on by. I saw that white blur. That was the pace car that now the drivers have to catch up to. But certainly these drivers, that was a scary moment because of how short that run was going to be. I don't think the aggression level was known, but Joshua Altus proved that speed is certainly going to be a big factor as drivers now enter pit road. As now we'll get to tell, will drivers make mistakes here, as the 15 cannot afford to slide through his box. That of track position going to be key, because there's drivers that took tires on the last yellow that are deciding to stay out. That could be big game changers here.
Yeah, it looks like 6 cars deciding to stay out. Joshua Altus, Austin Call, Nick Holland, Dylan Glass, Ryan Lynch, Jonathan Casebeer all staying out as they came in with that first caution. And now the interesting other thing to see, Sam, is how many drivers are going to stay on pit lane and get some damage repaired that might have gotten a little bit of nicks here and there with that big wreck.
I would imagine a lot of drivers that were caught up in those messes. I know Ross Tatum's going to stay in there for a lot longer. He had a lot of rear end damage the 21's got to deal with. Will Bustler staying in for extra damage. Philip Chavez, practically everyone from 13th on back staying in for extra damage repair. And I'm not surprised by it. Want to get any repairs done that you can to allow yourself to be quick enough to race this one out. But with the stage yellow, we have lost our official first driver of the night. It's going to be the fill-in driver of the 9, Ryan Cole, calling it done, as we are going to see if we could pull up that of our stage winner, Ken Campbell. Get his thoughts right before we get back to racing, because it's going to be a quick one with these restarts. Let's see how the 15 is feeling here tonight. Ken Campbell, it's Sam and Trevor up at the booth. You got us?
I got you. You got me?
I got you. Well, Ken, you win the stage. Pit stops are now done. How are you feeling after that run and just the survival of that carnage on our first caution?
Well, I feel pretty good considering my heart rate's at about 220 right now. Got turned. Discord's not working right. I can't hear my spotter. It's all robotic. So, yeah, we're definitely fighting the elements right now. And trying to keep it clean and, bring it home in a decent spot.
Ken, we saw some trucks getting loose there, especially later in that run. What's the tire wear like, especially on the bottom lane? The top lane looks like it's wearing out a little bit more than the bottom, but what are you feeling out there?
Yeah, it's definitely loose. You start noticing the looseness in 3 before you enter it, or before you feel it in 1. By the end of the run, it's in 1 and 2, or 1 and 3 rather. And yeah, you just got to lift and hope that everybody around you is lifting to the same level you are. And I think what happened there is I got a little bit looser. I lifted a little more than Medlin, I think, and that's what happened there. But yeah, definitely late in the runs, you're going to see guys going back and forth, and it's going to be tricky.
Well, Ken, good luck on this restart, and hopefully we'll be talking to you at the end of the night.
Appreciate it.
Well, that is going to be the 15 of Ken Campbell, our stage winner here this evening for the ButtKicker 210, as he talked about the robotic sounding that he's hearing from his team. We were also hearing it there when we were talking with them. So internet woes could be striking for the 15, and he's going to be in the middle of this pack, so he's hoping that he could stay out of trouble. But Trevor, it's time for us to get back to green flag racing. Pace car is off, and the drivers are ready. There's no more stage racing. It is all about the win, and here we go. It's going to be seeing the ambush drivers, Joshua Altus as well as Austin Call, taking off and in line heading into turn number 1.
Yeah, it did not take long. They timed that perfectly, his teammates, to get Austin Call down right behind his teammate there. Nick Holland going to fall in line into 3rd, and then it's going to be side by side behind them between Ryan Lynch, Dylan Glass. Glass is going to try to use that outside line, but now he's going to fall in behind the 3 there of Dylan Glass, and I think that's going to leave the 8 of Jonathan Casebeer is going to be the first truck. As I say that, Holland's not going to waste any time. He's going to go to the outside, and here comes the 68, his teammate, right behind him.
And they might have swapped numbers, fill-in drivers to the outside lane for Hack Racing. Going to be that of Austin Call, Nick Holland working with one another. I mean, that's 42 bouncing to the outside of Austin Call. Dylan Glass trying to work with 42 machine of Nick Holland, but they got to get closer, and Glass has to be around the back bumper. I mean, they're going to make just 2 trucks work, trying to beat the rest of the field, but now it's time to see who's willing to bounce to the outside lane, because this is when things get fun, Trevor, because these drivers could settle into a little bit more of single file racing and think about who wants to come into pit road when. That's the fun strategy point of the race.
Yeah, now it's, no more stage breaks, no more guaranteed cautions, and a fuel run about that of 55, 56 laps when you're in the draft. So pit strategy is going to, be important for these guys. And like you said, they could just, form a train here and click off some laps and see what happens. But Glass and Nick Holland not wanting to do that, wanting to get up to the front past this 94 and 18.
Wanting to make the pass immediately as the aggression level is ramping up. Out of the 42, looking a little squirrely off the exit of the corner. And these drivers, what a handful. They're driving at 175 plus miles per hour around this course as they try to stay in a close proximity, as Nick Holland having his little bit of a lows to hold on for, but up front, the group all looking pretty settled in as we're 47 laps into this run. And for these drivers, it's all about surviving until pit stops. And for us up in the booth, we're going to take our first commercial break of the night as these drivers continue to race here at Atlanta. You're watching the Full Send Racing Series, the first race of the round of 8 in the playoff coverage. Who moves on, we'll find out. We will go side by side so you don't miss a thing. We'll be back right after this.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Masker can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second part, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force it off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Frisch on the bottom.
Bouchard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh
and to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
Wanted the best, you got him 4 abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws. Dirt Racing will be available September 27th. Pre-order your copy today.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Full Send Racing Series. We want to say thank you to everyone that's been watching with us here tonight. As you've been watching Vegas Drivers on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name's Sam Dyer. With me is Trevor Earhart, and we want to give a big shout out to the sponsors here for the Full Send Racing Series. Starting things off with the Lap Traffic Podcast. If you want to go listen to a great podcast with awesome conversations that can get you through the day, go listen to the Lap Traffic podcast. As well, get yourself ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get your gamer to today. Instead of just hear the sounds, why not feel the sounds with the ButtKicker? And once you get your ButtKicker, you got to attach to something, and that's where you go to Next Level Racing. Next Level Racing. Get your sim rig set up. You can upgrade your racing today. Thanks so much to all the amazing sponsors that have helped out the Full Send Racing Series. We as well want to shout out for ourselves here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We have a charity race. It's our second one of the year, and it's our first ever Gamers Outreach 600, where we're taking the Gen 4 Cup cars to Charlotte Motor Speedway for 400 laps, 600 miles. And Trevor, you're going to be racing in it, man.
I am. I'm super excited to be racing in one, and have you and Zach make fun of me all race long with I'm sure the chaos and calamity that'll ensue with that. No, it's gonna be a great race. 600 miles for such a great cause with Gamer Outreach and the Gen 4 high horsepower, low downforce cars. So 600 miles around Charlotte, man, it's gonna be a good one. Definitely cannot wait for it.
And it's really easy and simple. All you need to do if you'd like to race in this event like Trevor's going to, it's a $5 minimum, or you go to our link in our Tiltify link where you donate directly to Gamers Outreach. You put your name, what you want your car number to be, and that will allow you to be eligible to race in the series. We've already raced over $400. We got lots of drivers that are excited for it. But if money and also not being able to race is a side effect you just cannot get to, that's okay. We would still love for you to share the link out, share the event, let people know about the Gamers Outreach 600 that we have coming around. June 10th is the day. And if you'd also like to just join our community Discord channel where we give you updates on other events that we might be having going on in the next year, because this is our last charity event of this year. We're so proud of having our Daytona 500 for the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation beginning of the year, and then also having this being our second charity event. Thank you so much to everyone that's helped out on both. But if you'd like to just hang out in our community Discord channel, go also to the Discord link that's in the chat. Thank you so much to everyone that's been helping with us. But let's get back to the racing topics here tonight. As we were seeing under our commercial break, a driver that was low, slow, and blowing up. Cameron Sarton is now out of this race. Also, Brian Cole's called it a night, as we have that Medlin, Travis Dart, all still sitting in pit road. A long night for these drivers that were caught up in our first caution on lap 33. We then had our stage break at lap 40, and we've been green ever since. And Trevor, certainly these drivers up front trying to get in the better positions.
Yeah, trying to position themselves for pit stops that should be coming up in the next 25-ish, 27 laps for these guys. But I'll tell you what, this top line really hasn't gone anywhere, hasn't gone away. Nick Holland, Dylan Glass, and the 8 of Jonathan Casebeer, they've been holding their own up here with Joshua Altus, Austin Call, and Ryan Lynch as well. And, it kind of makes you wonder. We saw what happened with Travis Dart when he was, running that top line late into a run when he got loose. We saw what happened, what King Campbell was talking about with how he gets loose and you have to lift as much and have to hope that the drivers behind you lift as much. So might be something for these guys to watch out for as this run continues, but right now doing a good job hanging on up.
Yeah, if you missed when we were talking with our stage winner, Ken Campbell, at the end of the stage break, we got to ask him a couple of questions about the tire wear and how it's been reacting, and he was caught up in that first caution that caused the big one, and talking about the let-off and the fact that drivers are guessing at all times in the entry of the corners on how much they truly need to let off compared to the drivers around them. I think that's an interesting thing that a lot of people usually don't think about when you're watching these races, is that little dance that you have to play with the drivers around you.
Yeah, typically, it's how much do you have to let off when you get to the back of the car in front of you to not shove them through the car in front of them. But here it's, okay, I know that the truck in front of me is going to have to lift. I'm going to have to lift to make the corner. How much is he going to have to lift this time around compared to last time around? So it's a dance at all times, and one misstep could cause a big wreck, and we've already seen it once. Will we see it again here tonight?
All the drivers searching for where they think the speed is at as we're right on board with 15 of Ken Campbell. Andrew Medlin was part of that group that was dominating the inside lane before, but currently right now it's ambush racing. The first two drivers on the inside lane, Joshua Altus, that joined the team halfway through the regular season after doing a couple of fill-in races and said, you know what, I enjoy racing with this league. I'm going to go full-time. Full-time racer / part-time racer where I no longer have to fill in for drivers. I can come in whenever I want. And Austin Call, trying to develop his racing throughout the season. He's had a lot of ups and downs for the 18. The last time he had a true chance to win at a track was at Talladega for the last race of the regular season. And the 18 looking strong as well here tonight.
Yeah, looking good for himself as he's following his teammate there. Travis Dart looking to maybe make it 3 wide, but he's going to think better of that and fall behind the 8 of K-Spear there. But Austin Call, I mean, he's shown flashes of speed, just hasn't had the finishes this season. Had a good chance at Talladega before he got caught up in a late race wreck there at the end of it. But he's putting himself in a good position right now to maybe get a good finish out of this.
You go for a good finish here tonight. But for those that are watching here this evening, who are you rooting for? Type in the chat which drivers you're rooting for. I know for Cole Sacchetti, who's in chat, I know which driver he's rooting for, and that's the leader of the outside lane, the 42 of Nick Holland, as Holland is filling in for Cole Sacchetti, who was not able to race here this evening. But I know a lot of other drivers we've got people that are rooting for in other leagues. I know Dylan Glass has quite a crew that follows him around for our Stars and Stripes series, which this Thursday night you don't want to miss on it, as we're going to be having ourselves the final race of this season for Stars and Stripes in the ARCA car, and they're going to be running at Bristol, as that is their last race of the season. Trevor, I mean, I never actually got to ask you this question. Have you ever seen a Final Four race at a short track, let alone Bristol being the last race of the season?
I have not, but I will tell you this. I'm going to tune in and watch that race because that sounds like a lot of fun. And I mean, Bristol championship race, short track, Gen 4 ARCA, or I'm sorry, not the Gen 4 ARCA, but the ARCA car. And it's kind of a handful in and of itself as well. So that's going to be a fun race to tune into and watch.
I mean, ARCA cars, short track racing, we've got a lot of mix-ups. Drivers bounced out, and the drivers that have been winning the most recent races have been non-playoff drivers, so you never know who can get themselves into victory lane, as this front group all still side by side. See in the chat, we got a K-Spear fan out there. Is Jonathan K-Spear, the winner of the Talladega race, the last Super Speedway race that we ran, the 8 machine, going from practically last in the field in a heroic push through the field to find himself winning that run. And you want to see Jonathan K-Spear's charge through the chaos, go watch the highlight of that race here in Freaky Fast Broadcasting after this one is done, as another driver going to be on the apron that the field's going to drive on by. That's Andrew Medlin, who's gotten his repairs and is back out on track, 28 laps down. But with how damaged he is, Kyle Carpenter, who started in pit road, missed the start of the race, missed the first 33 laps. He is currently has a chance to move up to 18th, maybe even further up than that if we see some bigger wrecks here in a few moments.
Yeah, he very well could. And, you know, there's a chance for Medlin, even with getting all that damage fixed. We've already seen it with the 24 of Cameron Sargent, that there's a chance that that truck still overheats and he has to go down pit road again and get some more damage repaired. So that might be another spot for Kyle Carpenter to get. But still, I think it's still going to put Kyle, though, along with Cameron Sargent, in a must-win scenario next week in Martinsville, which is going to add a little bit more, intensity to what is already going to be an intense race next week.
It's certainly going to be an intense one. If you did not know, next week's race is going to be at that of Martinsville. As the drivers going to duke it out, short track racing style, to see who will run at Phoenix for the championship race. 8 drivers entered into this round, only 4 advance forward. But drivers are leading the way here tonight. All non-playoff drivers for the first 5 positions. The first driver that's moved up, Chris Stitz, Ken Campbell, they are in line trying to figure out how to get by the top 6, because it's a wall for them to try to figure out how do you set up. Because if one of the drivers that are in have our blue ticker, is blue on our ticker, and playoff driver wins, that automatically locks them into that final 4 position, which all of these drivers are aiming for, is that win here tonight.
Yeah, you know, all the playoff drivers want to win here tonight and not have to deal with the pressure of Martinsville next week. But I mean, Sam, they're so far back in this pack, and they're 2x2 in front of them. It's going to be hard for them to make up this ground. It's going to be Stitz and that of Ross Tatum that are side by side racing with each other behind that of Lynch and Casebeer. Lynch looking a little loose though on the bottom line in that 3 truck, so he's starting to show the little tire wears kicking in for himself, as Nick Holland's going to finally get clear of Joshua Altus in the 94. But if a non-playoff driver wins this here tonight, I mean, we're going to go into the next round with all 8 drivers, not securing their spot into the championship 4 race.
Yeah, not being 100% secure is not a feeling that you want to have, but for the drivers that are up front inside of our top 6, those drivers are in a major concern. The reason why, none of them pitted at our stage break. They all pitted on the first caution that was on lap 33 with the big one, meaning that they're going to have to think about pit stops here in the next 10 laps, or maybe even 13 laps, which we're seeing the tire wear situation billowing up a little bit more, as we've been seeing a lot more wiggling happening with the 94, the 68, and others, as this is the longest run any of these drivers have had on a set of tires, and this is around the window that we saw our first big one. Could it strike again here on lap 78 or even 79?
Oh, it very well could. I mean, you're seeing all these trucks, how much they're moving around. Nick Holland's loose in the center of the corner. That's going to allow Joshua Altus to get to his inside. Dylan Glass was loose on the outside. And just like that, Altus back to the lead as Holland's going to have to pick up the 68 of Glass and try to get back by. But you can just see how much they're having to work through the center of the corner to keep these things going straight with how much that tire wear's kicked in for them.
The big thing that brought out the big one was the fact that drivers were trying to check up with the amount of looseness. Let's ride on board and get a sense of what it's like with Austin Call, who was one of the drivers really feeling the loose sensation, and those hands trying to stay stable to hit that red line. But again, it's the exit of the corners, and we're seeing those hands move a little bit to center it up. But that was actually a clean turns 3 and 4 for the 18 there.
Yeah, it looked really good through 3 and 4. It looked pretty smooth. We'll see down here in the 1 and 2 how it looks for him. A little bit of movement, but again, it looks pretty good on corner exit for himself. Looking pretty smooth there for the 18. I think it might be that the 3 of Lynch not right there on his rear bumper, so not taking a lot of air off the spoiler for that 18 machine might be helping him out here just a little bit.
Oh, going behind though, in a hard contact, Jonathan Casebeer rocking into the outside wall. Other drivers trying to slow up. When there's going to be the caution, and carnage strikes. Tires not secure, and I believe the 8 got loose, overcorrected, and it shot him right into the outside wall, causing an accident.
Yeah, it looks like it took out the 55, Sam Siegel involved, and Kyle Carpenter got a little piece of that. But I think he should be good, as we'll get the replay pulled up and see what happened to Casebeer. But Sam, I think you're spot on. Just tire wear maybe caught the apron a little bit for that 8 machine, but he took off like a rocket to that outside wall.
And that's going to add more drivers to the pile with required damage. Sam Siegel, as well as Jonathan Casebeer, going to be joining up with Philip Chavez, Cameron Sarton, and Travis Dart into pit road, and as well that of Brian Cole. But here's exactly what happened to 8, all on his own. He taps the apron, gets loose, overcorrects, too much grip, sends him to the outside wall, but then he comes back down in front of Sam Siegel, and this is where the carnage truly develops, when the 55 goes back up into the field.
Yeah, just nowhere for Sam to go. You see him come back up the track, clips the 77 just a little bit, but Kyle does a really good job getting it saved. You see Ross Tatum, Christopher Wade, Bill Dart there, all slowing down. They get through it. Philip Chavez with the slide, as he was trying to avoid it as well, but I don't think he got any damage.
I believe he did hit the wall here. He was just going with so much speed that I believe he does hit that one opening where you don't want to hit if you're one of these drivers, and slams into the pit wall, and that gives the required damage, because these trucks, very fragile on the hitting the sides. If you get any damage near the wheel wells of any of the 4 tires, it could be the end of your race, and it's done for that of going to be seen for some of these drivers. And the pile of cars that can continue racing starting to shrink more and more, meaning that the points gap that we could have been seeing also shrinking as well.
Yeah, I mean, points to be gained for John Dart, Will Bustler. I mean, still there, but the points that could be lost from drivers like Zach Hall, Ross Tatum, Chris Stitz, Ken Campbell also going away as the field continues to dwindle down. And Sam, looking at race control penalty for the 18 of Austin Call.
End of the line penalty for Austin Call. Trying to see exactly what the penalty was for himself. But seeing drivers curious on this one, Trevor, looking at the laps that are left in this race and when the time of these drivers come to pit road, fuel is going to be very close for these drivers if we can stay green all the way to the end of this race.
It's gonna be really close. I mean, it's gonna be right on that fuel window if this thing stays green for them to make it. This could turn into a fuel mileage race, which means if you're leading the pack, that might be detrimental for you. Guys in the draft might be able to make it, but I mean, we got to make it that far first, and if the tire wear continues the way it is, we might have another caution late into this run.
And hearing word that that penalty that was supposed to go to Austin Call might have been a misclick. So I think he should be trying to keep himself in position, and they're going to be clearing his black flag. So for that 18, it lucks out on losing any spots, but I think it was a misclick on trying to make sure the right driver gets trying to clear a black flag that accidentally gave him one for the 18 as drivers trying to get in the right positionings for this restart.
Well, it's good news there for Austin that he doesn't have to go to the end of the line and try to work his way back through the field, because we've seen it. I mean, being back there, sixth on back, it's really hard to work your way forward for these guys. So luckily for Austin, looks like he's gonna get to restart in third position and keep his track position.
He'll be up and ready to take off as drivers up front: Nick Holland, Joshua Altus, Austin Call, and Dylan Glass gonna be your top four. So yeah, they want to be playing nice. It's actually going to be the drivers pretty much in the spots they want to be in if you're the front two, and see what alliances are as we get ourselves prepared for another restart here this evening. Pace car is off, and Nick Holland takes us to the green into the restart zone for the ButtKicker 210. And here we go as the drivers roar down into turn number one.
And Holland with a great jump. Altus is going to be able to jump down in front of Dylan Glass in the 68 machine. It's going to leave Casebeer kind of all on his own, but he's going to try to slot down behind the 68 and does. And our top six, they're all single filed out. It's going to be the 15 of King Campbell, who's going to be the first car side by side back in the back of the pack. But there goes Dylan Glass to the outside. He's going to pick up the 17 of Chris Stitz. And just like that, we were single file for all of about, half the racetrack, and now back to double file racing.
Back to double file racing. There's a huge gap of drivers just trying to slot in the position they want to be, find allies, and I wouldn't be surprised here, Trevor, if maybe some tests to see if 3 wide is viable of a decision to make, because with the tires and the state that they're in now, you're going to have the best grip possible to make passes and moves. This might be your one time to go for a 3 wide pass, because later on in a run, when those tire wear is there, going 3 wide is just way too risky to think.
Yeah, why not try it now? But at the same time, I mean, do you want to put yourself in that position that could take you out of a chance of winning this race if it were to go wrong? That's the question these drivers got to ask. And I don't think you're going to see it from some of our playoff drivers. You might see it from a couple of these guys, that are out here just racing, trying to get a win here tonight. But we'll wait and see. But right now, it's Glass, Stitz, with the 3 of Ryan Lynch, the 3 trucks on the outside line doing battle there with Nick Holland, Joshua Altus, and Austin Call in the 18.
And was just scrubbing through all the different drivers and where they're running right now. Our top 10, I was looking at it, Trevor, looks to be our top 10, maybe even our top 8, are the only drivers that still have pretty pristine looking trucks. Everyone else through the field has some type of damage that they've collected throughout the night. And we're down to just 13 drivers on the lead lap. Bill Dart is still running out there on course in 52, but he's 2 laps down. Sam Siegel's in pit road, still getting repairs done. Everyone from 15th on back repairs for themselves. As a lead group, they are still not giving up on this aggression.
Yeah, still not giving up whatsoever as they're going to continue to battle with one another. It's going to be, I believe, King Campbell who's kind of leading that second pack that's trying to, it's John Hart that's leading the second pack, trying to catch back up to these leaders, but the top 6 just all side by side with one another and really can't go anywhere. That Stitz hasn't been able to push the 68 of Dylan Glass clear of Nick Holland. Might do it here through 3 and 4, but I think Nick's going to have a little bit more of the momentum down here on the bottom line and might be able to get back to the 68, but maybe not as they come off of turn number 4.
stay in line. Chris Stitz trying to set himself up in the front, or is that where you want to be? And I know, Trevor, we were talking about fuel and the fuel step you could go when you're leading a pack and when you're in the draft. Two very massive differences on how much you're saving on the fuel. And for the drivers that are in line, it could be a strategy call of they just don't want to be the lead driver, because tires, yes, are important, but saving fuel could be the key to making it to the end of this race. And that's why we're seeing a lot of other drivers saying, you know what, let the top 6 stay side by side. We're all just going to stay in line and save the fuel to make it to the end.
And we were told 55 to 56 laps in the draft. And based off of when they pit and the end of the race, it's going to be 54 laps. These drivers have to go on the tank of fuel. And, I mean, that's going to be really close if you're, you know, Chris Stitz, Dylan Glass, Nick Holland, who, you know, are trying to lead some laps here. That could really put you at a disadvantage from the drivers further on back, like Austin Call, Ryan Lynch, Joshua Altus, John Dart, Ken Campbell, and those guys who are just kind of running in the draft, saving some fuel.
Trying to gain any positions you can. And also an update for Kyle Carpenter, who missed the start of this race. He missed the first 33 laps of this run. We were saying he's going to be in a must-win scenario. Based on the drivers that have already left the race and have called it a night, and where the 77 is running, he has a chance of finishing in 15th position with everyone that's been jumping out of this race.
The never give up mentality got into the race, gonna gain some spots, gain some valuable points for himself that, you know, might help him if drivers like, you know, Chris Stitz, Ken Campbell had issues late into this race that put them further on down the field. That could help the 77 machine out, and it goes to show you, hey, just because you missed the start of the race doesn't mean you have to give up on it. And Carpenter looking like he might pick up the top 15 here tonight.
God, Kyle Carpenter, he's hoping that there's going to be another wreck before lap 103. That is around the last time, unless we go into overtime, that would then push it that number a little bit further up, slightly from lap 103. That's going to be the last chance. If there's a big one and a driver quits out of the race, the 77 could be in more positions from those that are already just sitting in pit road. So a lot of strategy calls, but Chris Stitz leading the way. Nick Holland in second. And as these laps tick down, this is going to be our last opportunity to take commercial break, so we're going to take it here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. It's the Full Send Racing Series playoff coverage of the first race of the round of 8 here from ButtKicker 210 at Atlanta. We are going to go side by side once again, so you don't miss a thing. Thanks for joining us here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We'll see you right after this.
they're splitting, and it's a complete mayhem.
We have a wreck at the front. 19 goes down into the 7, takes out the 00.
They're 5 wide behind for fifth. Oh my, 5 wide here, this ain't gonna work. This is it. They're already wrecking into turn 1, and now coming through that of turn 2. This is it, the Daytona. Oh no, the wrecking contact. Sets gets into the wall. Gonna be scattering on the outside. Drivers on the apron. Drivers coming out of nowhere. Edison on the outside trying to get the win. And it's William Edison stealing it at the line.
Into the wall. The 18 trying to block. 77 get into the 18. That leaves 3 of TJ Roberts. 17 to Gavin Rogers. 3 of TJ Roberts is gonna steal the win here.
But second fiddle so many times last season. Christopher Wade wins the season 5 Daytona 200. And welcome back. Major contact for some of the drivers up front. That is going to be Dylan Glass, Joshua Altus making contact with one another. Dylan Glass, blown engine. He is done for the night, but they stay pointed straight as we continue to stay green. But this shakes up the field, breaking it up into that of seeing these drivers. Top 7 still in line. Christopher Wade, Zach Hall, though, lost the draft as they had to really check up from being caught up in a mess, as they do not have as much of assistance. It's only Christopher Wade and Zach Hall. The rest of the drivers behind them are just too damaged and wounded to work with these 2 drivers. This could be a lost cause for Zach Hall, who came into here with a 16-point advantage. And Trevor, this could make things very interesting for Zach Hall if he falls back, losing touch on some of these points. That could be very crucial heading into next week.
It very well could be for himself, but I mean, good. Thankfully for him, though, he's got a healthy truck in front of him, and maybe help coming from behind him if Will Bustler and Ross Tatum can catch up to them. And the 77 of Kyle Carpenter, who I think has a little bit of rear end damage from getting hit in the back when that incident happened. If those 5 can get together, they might be able to try to close in on our leaders. But if our leaders stay single file, which they all have now caught back up with one another, and it's all the way back through that of Ken Campbell, if they can all stay, in single file, it's going to be hard for those drivers to catch back up to them.
Right now, it's our top 7 in line. Chris Stitz, Nick Holland, Austin Call, John Dart. John Dart, well, another heroic run for the 99 as he's up front. I don't know how John does this, but the Cinderella story from his Auto Club win, his first ever league win for the 99, to now having a chance to be set up for a points chance to move on and race for a championship. This is incredible to see for what a season the 99's had.
Oh, it's just been, so fascinating following him pretty much all season long since that Auto Club win. And he's been that driver that runs near the back for the first little bit of the race, and then finds his way, forward, gets himself a top 10, maybe a top 5 at the end of the night. Had a great run last week at that of the Indy Road Course, and here tonight running 4th and has a shot to potentially win this, Sam, and lock himself into that championship 4.
Drivers you see with the blue ticker marks, those are your playoff drivers. If any one of them wins, they are locked into the Final 4 race at Phoenix. And John Dart, one of 3 drivers in this pack that are trying their best to go for that win. You've got Chris Stitz leading the way for the 17 as he's trying to get his first ever championship. He's got so many opportunities in the seasons that he's ran here at the Full Send Racing Series. The 17 is hoping to finally crack into the championship column and join the likes of Cameron Sarton and Ross Tatum. But John Dart in 4th, the other driver that's a part of this group, and Ken Campbell, 6th place runner. He's been in the lead pack. He won the stage here tonight. But again, the question of fuel is still out there for these drivers to question about.
Yeah, if I'm Chris Stitz, I'm slightly concerned with him leading this pack and what that's going to do for him on fuel. Nick Holland, having been in his draft now for the last 10 laps or so, should be good to make it to the end. I believe John Campbell, Charles Hugel, Austin Call, they should all be good to go to the end based off of them having the draft help. But it's going to be the 42 and the 17 that, Sam, I'm slightly worried about them making it to the end here.
They've been up front, using their fuel, maximizing their speed. But as we're coming up to that of 36 laps to go, an update, going to be 26 laps to go, there. Update for that of Kyle Carpenter, who's just been puttering along on his own for the 77. He's attached to that second group. But Trevor, I'm looking at the numbers because of the drivers that have officially called it a night, and Dylan Glass blown engine, he will not have time to get back out there on track. Kyle Carpenter has a chance of now stealing a 13th place position if this race continues to run and he's able to stay out there on track.
He very well could. In the 94 Joshua Altus, with the damage he has, I just saw him get back into the outside wall as the leaders went by him. If the 94 comes down and calls it a night, he could find himself in 12th position. I mean, what a turnaround for the 77 who missed the first 34 laps of this race.
I think if Joshua Altus calls it a night, then we get a couple of green flag, get some green-white checkered attempts. Who would get a chance for the 77? I think that might be a little bit too much to grasp, but man, what a story it would be if he could steal that spot. As the laps continue to tick away, the lineup, this is how things are run down here tonight. Top 7 are in a very good spot to keep this as a pack, but Zach Hall, Christopher Wade, they were almost 5 seconds off of this lead pack with how much they had to back off because of the Altus and Dylan Glass altercation that happened. They're now caught up. They've got the draft, and here comes the 53 as well as that of the 32. And the question now, Trevor, is where do they go with this massive momentum they're about to have?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, Zach's done a great job pushing Wade back up to this field and not too far behind them. Ross Tatum, along with Kyle Carpenter, not too far behind that group as they close in, and Zach and Wade are there. They've caught the 3 of Ryan Lynch. So the question is, do you just fall in line behind the 3 of Lynch, or do you try to go to the outside and create a second lane? Lynch looking like he's going to go up there, block the 53, maybe continue that momentum forward, and looks to be the case. Here comes the 3 of Lynch, the 53 of Wade. Zach Hall's going to go to the inside line, though, and get to the rear bumper of his teammate, the 15 of Ken Campbell.
Trying to get to Ken Campbell and maybe lose touch to the 3. Just ditch that Ryan Lynch and Christopher Wade. Will he just drop down low? No, yes, he will. Trying to get to the inside quarter panel, and that of Ryan Lynch went from feeling like he was in a comfortable spot to now back of the pack. We are finding ourselves come to 20 laps to go here tonight. And it's all the drivers in our top 9, top 10 attached to this group. A couple of lap cars mixed in between. But Chris Stitz and others that are in the playoffs hoping to get to victory lane to lock themselves in the final 4. But it's time to get mixy as Austin Call leads that outside lane and is kind of killing the momentum right now.
Yeah, jumped up in front of Ken Campbell, Zach Hall, and it killed that momentum. John Dart able to get by up to 3rd. And Campbell not looking like he really wants to push this 18 machine, and they continue to fall back as now Wade's gotten by. Lynch might be able to get by the both of them in that top line. Once Austin Call jumped up there, has died. Call now jumps to the bottom, but no, he's going to stay up in line as now Wade goes to the top. Austin Call's loose, and that's going to check up the top line again.
And once again, it's going to be Zach Hall mixed in this group. Austin Call got loose. He was trying to be very aggressive on blocking and defending the 15 and the 32. Does a great job of killing their momentum, and now they are almost losing touch to the draft ahead. And now, 20 laps to go here tonight. Chris Ditz, as well as Nick Holland, still with a question mark on if they can make it to the end on fuel of this race. They can be a lap or 2 short. The rest of the field should be good in theory on fuel because they've been in line working together on saving the fuel. But the drivers to watch out for could be the non-playoff drivers of Christopher Wade, Charles Hugel. What moves are they willing to make, as well as Ryan Lynch?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see Lynch and Wade trying to work together on that outside line now. They've got the help again from Ken Campbell and Zach Hall as they've caught back up. The question is, they're going to have the momentum. Ross Tatum, out of nowhere, he was back there with Kyle Carpenter and that of Zach Hall and Wade, and now he's right behind Christopher Wade as they try to make their way past that of the 30 of Charles Hugel. And Tatum right back in the mix of this thing.
Top 10 drivers all in the lead pack. If any of the drivers in blue win, they are locked into the final 4 and will run for a championship, and they won't have to worry about their fates at Martinsville next week. We've already seen plenty of contenders here tonight getting scrapes, getting bumps and bruises. But it's all come down to this. Can these drivers stay clean? Because we're now at that same stage where we've seen drivers wear down the tires and their trucks get out of control. But right back there, Trevor, could we make it to the end of this race? Because we were talking about under a commercial break, we felt like there was a chance of a big caution happening.
I mean, the chance is still going to be there with these drivers. I mean, you just see how much they're having to move around. If you clip the apron, you know, at all, it can really upset the truck. We've already seen it a couple times. Most recently with K-Spear on the older tires, what happens when you clip that apron, and these pushes are just going to get more aggressive as these guys try to get up near the front of the field as these laps wind down. So anything's possible, but Wade with the momentum on the outside, now up to third place as he's gotten around the 99 of John Dart. But Dart's going to have a little bit of a run back here as the 21 of Tatum has his little bit of internet blink there for himself, but now back as steady as he tries to catch back up to Wade to help the 53 move forward.
Trying to hold steady. Some drivers know we got to make sure they do not touch that red line. The apron is a death trap that could ruin your night. We've already seen some drivers overcorrect, come back up into the field. And for the drivers on the inside, that is their one concern, is don't get pinched by the driver on the outside and don't drive yourself out of this race. As Nick Holland, Christopher Wade getting close through the tri-oval for these drivers. It is all go time as the laps continue to click away. We're inching closer and closer to that of 10 laps to go. Who would be willing to force it 3 wide? The tires are so used up. They've been out there for 39 laps trying to keep these tires underneath themselves, and 2 wide seems to be the max that a lot of these drivers are willing to take it. But Chris Stitz has been leading the majority of this run.
Yeah, I think if we go 3 wide, I'm willing to bet that it probably causes a caution, but somebody's got to try it, because you can't just ride around boxed in behind everybody like this with nowhere to really go as that outside line starts to get a good run here. Will Bustler in the one's going to go a lap down. He's going to pull to the inside line, let our leaders go by. As now Christopher Wade, Ross Tatum, they've made it up to the front. They've made it up side by side with Chris Stitz in the 42 of Nick Holland. So this is going to get interesting with this top line. Can the 3 of Lynch catch up? He's trying to get some help from Ken Campbell, but that top line, not as grouped up as this inside line currently is.
It's not as grouped up, but it honestly looks to be, if Ross Tatum can get close enough to that back bumper, he could woo that 53 to that lead position, but it's all about working as one. The 21 having the rear end damage. You can see there, the center back just completely punched in, but he still is able to keep it close. He's been working on that damage all night long, but the driver that is the second on the inside, that's Nick Holland in the Mountain Dew 42 machine. I'm concerned. He has been looking the most, a little bit more wobbly. He's wobbling the most out of anyone, trying to hold his line, and they're coming up to lap traffic. We'll see if Cameron Sarton ducks it to the apron, but I'm mainly concerned about that inside lane currently right now.
Yeah, I think if they start to get pinched here by this top line, it really could cause some issues for these guys with how much they're having to move around on that bottom line. I mean, even Chris Stitz moving around a little bit. Wade looks pretty comfortable up there in that top line along with Ross Tatum. You can see here on the front stretch, even cutting the apron there a little bit, how much those trucks are really moving around on that inside line. John Dart looks pretty comfortable in the 99 machine, but just nowhere to go for him currently as he's kind of boxed in behind that of the 42 of Nick Holland.
You see the 99, the 21 side by side for fourth place at this current moment. Who is going to get the better run for themselves? As once again, seeing a little lap cars, they duck it to the apron, giving all the space our leaders need to race this out. It's your top 10 all here, 10 laps to go, and it's all on the line, side by side. Pick your lane, and hopefully it's the one that moves forward, as it's a dash between Christopher Wade, Chris Stitz. If Wade wins, he steals that automatic lock-in from some of these other drivers that were hoping to find themselves running into that of the championship. Wade, he is always a threat at these super speedway style of racetracks, as the 3 further back in the pack gets extremely loose in front of Ken Campbell.
Oh, I thought we were about to have a wreck right there with Ryan Lynch. He got really loose in front of Campbell and Zach Hall and basically killed the back half of that outside line, and might really hurt the whole outside line in general, as they've all had to back off, and that just leaves Christopher Wade, Ross Tatum all alone on that top line. Will anybody jump back up there to go help? Here comes Zach Hall with a big run, and now has his teammate in tow with the 15 of Ken Campbell. They're going to try to get back up there and reform that top line and give help to the 21 and the 53.
Curious if anyone else is going to bounce the outside with them, as Zach Hall trying to close in on this gap. and find a way to maybe force it 3 wide, make some big moves. 8 laps to go here at Atlanta for the ButtKicker 210. You're watching the Full Send Racing Series. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Trevor Earhart. This is the first race of the round of 8. We got Martinsville next week that will set the stage of who will run at Phoenix for the championship race. And it's been a wild one. We've seen a couple of big split ups and wrecks that could have brought out yellows here late. We've kept it clean. Green, 7 laps to go, though, here at Atlanta.
7 laps to go, and that top line's all together now. And the bottom line kind of a little bit spread out between John Hugel and that of Holland as Stitz moves around just a little bit. Will Stitz have enough gas to make it to the end? Here comes a push from Nick Holland to the back bumper of the 17. Wade side by side with him as they head down into turn number 3. And Sam coming to 6 to go. This is going to get interesting if Stitz has enough fuel and enough tire wear left to really hold off a charge from that outside line.
Fuel has been questioned. We know when it comes down to 2 laps to go, that for Chris Stitz, he's going to be questioned if he has enough gas to make it to the end, as he has been the lead driver for the majority of this run. Really didn't take too many laps to try to save a lap or 2, but it is to no more time for saving. It's all about positioning yourself for the victory. 6, about to make it 5 laps to go here tonight. And again, the big question, who will think about going 3 wide? And do we have even enough trucks to attempt that attempt? Because it seems like the outside lane, if it's going to move forward, Ross Tatum needs at least 1 driver behind him, because that rear end just isn't able to keep the speed right on Christopher Wade's bumper.
Yeah, I think he's going to need somebody to push him to help push Wade up to the front. So if somebody jumps out from it, if Zach Hall and Ken Campbell decide to go 3 wide, that can really hurt that outside line. And what's really interesting is the inside line. I mean, John Dart, look at the gap he's giving to the 42 of Nick Holland. I mean, he hasn't closed up at all. He's actually giving a lot of space, maybe anticipating something in front of him happening. That way he can get through it, possibly. But I'm just surprised at how much of a gap there is between drivers on that inside line.
I mean, at this point in the race, you are in the prime position to avoid a wreck if you're on the bottom lane. It's kind of your exit plan. You have the apron to drive down to avoid this carnage, but you have to be close enough. If just in case there isn't a yellow that comes out, you're giving these positions for free, and you're giving plenty of space for Zach Hall, Kyle Carpenter. They can move down if they feel like it's necessary, that they don't have enough speed to make any moves on the outside lane.
Yeah, it's just you're losing potential points here by not closing this gap up to Nick Holland, and 3 laps to go here. I mean, if I'm John Dart here, I'm trying to close in on this gap. I mean, he's backing up Charles Hugel as well. The 18 of Austin Call. There, Tatum gets a little loose, hangs on to it. Stitz is loose. He hangs on to
hold on. Stitz is trying to hold on the best that he can. 2 laps to go. Ross Tatum, the last couple of corners, that rear end has been wiggling for the 21. Stitz now loses the momentum. Ross Tatum trying to clear. Christopher Wade going to be dropping down the inside little spot. And now Stitz once again loose at a 2.
And here we go. Halfway down the back straightaway. Stitz is going to take it to the inside. They're going to be 3 wide contact.
Christopher Wade holds on. They keep it straight. Wade's going to bounce up the outside lane. They're going to be 4 wide. The 3 gets tapped, but somehow keeps it straight. Out of turn number 4, the white flag's in the air, and it's side by side. Zach Hall, Ross Tatum, Ken Campbell. It's your freaky fast white flag here at Atlanta.
And it's still Zach Hall, Ross Tatum out of 2 side by side. Campbell's going to give the help to his teammate. There's no help for the 21 of Ross Tatum. He's a sitting duck down the back straightaway. Here comes Chris Stitz trying to get to the rear bumper of the 21. Give him a shot. He's thinking about looking into the inside. Zach Hall in the lead out of 3.
Zach Hall going to be ducking it down low. Ross Tatum's going to have one more attempt. Going to get to the back bumper. Will he spin the 32? Ken Campbell to the outside. Zach defends, holds on, and the 32 locked into the final 4 as they're wrecking across the line.
Whew. What a finish. What a wild last 2 laps. And Zach Hall, back-to-back weeks, he gets a win, locking himself into Martinsville. And I'm sure that's got to be a relief for the 32 machine after the night he had here tonight.
I mean, I don't know how they kept it straight. There should have been a yellow with 2 laps to go, but every bump in contact just kept each other straight, even though they were sideways at moments, which enabled the teammates of Ken Campbell, Zach Hall, the push that allowed Zach to get ahead of Ross Tatum. That was the move that got Zach Hull into victory lane and is going to allow him no longer has to worry about Martinsville. At one moment, he was curious on points if he was going to have to worry about it. Not anymore. This win locks the 32 to race at Phoenix. And as he gets that fun burning it down, we will step aside. When we come back, it's the post-race show. We'll talk to our top 3 and a spotlight driver right after this. Wow, what a race and what a finish as we went from 12 drivers down to 8, and this was the first race of the round of 8, and one driver's already locked in for the final 4. That is the 32 machine of Zach Hall, who came into this race with a 16-point buffer and now no longer has to worry about points. We go to victory lane. Zach Hall, it's Sam and Trevor up in the booth. Congratulations on this win. You're locked to the final 4, but man, how are you feeling after that one?
Oh man, ecstatic. Yeah, that was unexpected. I was kind of just settling there, just trying to get a good finish. I got 5th there in the stage and felt like that was good points compared to where I was running before that. And yeah, I mean, I was just trying to get out here, finishing this thing, but somehow I lucked out. I don't know what happened there on the bottom exactly, but I saw my opportunity, and luckily I had Ken there, and then I had to cover it off coming down to the end. So man, I can't believe it. That's 2 in a row, so we'll take it. Take Martinsville kind of as just a race to help try to maybe get Ken in there and see if we can get him in the final 4 there with me at Phoenix. Man, I just can't believe this.
I mean, Zach, were you at all worried? Especially after the stage, after the wreck, that we saw in turn 1, the big one there that happened, that the damage was going to affect you for the rest of the race, or was it pretty well good to go once you came in and saw what you had to take there at the stage break?
Well, it was 26 seconds, and Andrew was looking at it, and he said he didn't see nothing. And before that stage happened, the truck felt fast, so I wasn't too worried. Never really had to worry with speed there, and I just feel like also here it's just such a momentum based thing where it's kind of tough to make anything happen where you get boxed in here. I mean, if you go make that 3rd lane, really go try to do it, you're just asking to wreck. So I think that's why a lot of guys kind of stayed away with it. But I feel like if we just stayed with it, I mean, we had a moment there for sure where I had to check up. Me and Wade, I think, fell back pretty far, about almost 4 seconds back, and I pushed him as hard as I could. And luckily we were able to get right back to him. And I mean, I'm just surprised how that played out. I mean, I don't think I could ask for being luckier how this all played out for me tonight.
I mean, Zach, you touched on that of momentum and the fact that you caught back up to the pack. But then once you got to the pack, those final 15 laps, it just seemed like every move that you and Ken were trying to make, someone was blocking you off or you guys lost the momentum. How was that trying to keep your mentality of we're still in this, let's keep moving forward, even though you kept on kind of seeing those blocks?
It was tough. I mean, people were getting loose. That was the big thing with the trucks is like, man, they were wicked loose. So you had to be really smooth on the wheel. And I feel like certain people probably maybe weren't the smoothest with it. So they were starting to get loose and that would just check up the outside line. And I felt like if we could get behind Chris, Wade and Tatum there up top, I feel like us four as a kind of a group up there, we could get that line going forward, and which we kind of did. And luckily also the inside line, they got bottled up there, and I think they got a little bit checked up off of 4, and that opened up the door when Wade went down there, man. And I don't know, I was just kind of taking what was given to me there as that race went on. So I mean, I'm happy how it played out. Didn't expect it. I felt like Martinsville was going to be the race I had circled in this round to push me through, but no worries now. We're just going to think about Phoenix. We got 3 weeks, I think, because we got an off week there for Memorial Day. So 3 weeks to get prepared for that, and I can tell you this much: I will be preparing a lot.
Well, Zach, congratulations again on this win. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout outs.
Yeah, first off, shout out to my teammates. Those guys are amazing. It sucks for Andrew there, what happened to him. It's so tough in this racing, and it's tough because it took other people out, and I feel bad for those guys, especially like Cam Sarton. He was right there, just riding back there with me, and you just kind of got to pick and choose where you go. I got a little bit of damage from that, but he got the bad end of the stick. So I feel bad for guys like that. So shout out to everybody out there. I know this track can be a little frustrating. So shout out to the drivers out there for, keeping cool heads through the night and getting through it here in this round. Then, shout out to you guys up in the booth for all the work y'all do each and every week. It's always fun to go back and watch it. I'm definitely going to have to go check back those last couple laps there to see how it looked from the outside perspective. And then last but not least, shout out to all the league sponsors. This league here at Full Send Racing, man, I love this place. It's been a blast to race here. This season's been a dream come true with how well I've done in the trucks. Never would have thought that. So again, shout out to all the admins, all the sponsors that help put this on and make this a thing on a weekly basis here on Tuesdays.
Well, that is going to be the 32 machine of Zach Hall. Congratulations on this win, and good luck next week at Martinsville.
Thanks, guys.
As Zach Hall gets his 6th win, a driver gets his 6th second place. We go to Ross Tatum. Ross and Sam and Trevor up in the booth. I don't know if you've seen the stat, but this is counting your 6th second place finish of the season. It's been your spot so far on top of your 2 wins that you've grabbed so far this season. But Ross, what a wild one there at the end. How are you feeling after that one?
Most second place finishes, I'd feel pretty I'd feel pretty bad, but tonight I feel good. Thank God I got through that with a lot of points. I got the stage points I wanted. That was the main goal. I was expecting a lot of attrition. We got it, so that was nice. But then, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Zach wins. I finished second. Top 5 looks like a normal top 5. So to be a super speedway, we pretty much got the normal results. But all in all, I mean, it was a good night. It was definitely a wrinkle in the playoffs to have this track in here. I want to complain about it, but at the same time, I understand it. I understand the playoffs are about hitting every single ability for drivers. So it was a lot of fun tonight. I feel bad for Wade. I really thought he had the race won, but all in all, good night.
I mean, Ross, you came in +9. You got the stage points you wanted. You come home second tonight. I mean, put yourself in a pretty good position next week at Martinsville. I mean, what's your game plan going into next week at Martinsville?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to Martinsville. I really love Martinsville. It's probably my favorite track. But the main goal next week is just get stage points again. Hopefully, I get a top 5 or 4 in the stage, and then race it out there at the end. But the main thing, I didn't really expect to get a top 10 tonight. I didn't expect to even get maybe 2 stage points. But so to come out tonight being positive really sets me up well for Martinsville, and I think I can just go to Martinsville and just kind of run my race and actually go for the win.
Seems like a good strategy to go into, Ross. Well, before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout outs.
Appreciate it, guys. I got to thank my teammates first and foremost. Jonathan couldn't make it tonight, but I got to thank him, and Will had a tough night, but man, he's fast. He's going to win one of these races soon. And then I got to thank Wade. He's such a good teammate. I was really hoping I could have pushed him to the win, but all that happened there at the end. But all in all, it was good racing. I got to thank Coca-Cola for paying my bills. I got to thank you guys at Freaky Fast. You are the best. You guys are the best. I hope everyone signs up for the 600. I would love to run it, but I don't think my butt can take it in my old seat I have. And then I got to thank everybody in the league. Travis and Steve do such a great job. And then just everyone watching and my wife and kid. And that's about it, I think. Just looking forward to next week.
Can't wait for it. Well, that's going to be the 21 of Ross Tatum. Congratulations on second place, and good luck at Martinsville next week.
Appreciate it, guys.
Well, from second place, let's go to third place to a driver that we questioned a lot on what the fuel run was going to be like, but he comes away third. Chris, it's Sam and Trevor up the booth. Congratulations on third place here this evening. That was something we were curious about. Did you see that fuel was going to be an issue, or did you feel pretty confident through that whole entire run at the end?
At the beginning of the stint, I actually looked at the fuel and it said I was too good, but I know you can't trust that here, and especially with leading, I think I was only like a quarter to a full lap to the good. So it was close, but I think it would have been good.
I mean, Chris, walk us through the last couple of laps there. You got loose. Wade gets in front of you. You try to go 3 wide into 3. I mean, was there anything else you could really do there, or was that the only opportunity you saw to try to hold on for the win?
The way I played it out in my head is coming off that corner when I got pretty loose. I knew that Wade was going to get in front of me. I didn't know if he was going to pull down with Tatum or just pull down by himself. And when he pulled down by himself, I knew that Tatum, his teammate, was going to try to get to the outside so they could control both those lanes. And I knew it was either make a move now or probably follow Wade to the finish line.
Well, you went for something there, and it came away third. I mean, that's still something massive for yourself to take, especially third in points. Heading into Martinsville. How are you feeling about that next track? But the fact that Martinsville is the cutoff race to see who will be running for the championship in the Final Four.
I'm a big fan of Martinsville, and I'm looking forward to getting there and just hopefully getting out front and staying out front all day and just having a good points day or even winning it to lock myself into the championship, because after this race I'll be sitting pretty good on points, but you can never sit perfect on points unless you got that win.
Very true. Well, Chris, before we officially let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
Firstly, I'd like to thank my dad, who's at home watching, and my teammate Cole, who couldn't be here tonight, but still with the team in good spirits, rooting us on from the background. But thank you guys up in the booth. Of course, you guys always do a fantastic job. Look forward to watching this one back, and thank you to Travis, John, and everyone that puts on this league. Definitely going to be running it next season for sure. Not sure what the number will be, but we'll figure that out when we get to it. And all the league sponsors, of course, they all are the reason we do this.
Well, I'm excited to hear that you're coming back for next season, Chris. Exciting always to see you out there on track. That's going to be the 17 of Chris Stitz coming away with third place finish. And good luck next week, Chris.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Well, as we go from third place, let's go to our spotlight driver, who's going to be all the way down in 13th position, but we touched on this driver all night long. Kyle, it's Sam and Trevor up in the booth. Let's first start off on the fact you missed the start of the race. You missed the first 33 laps. You're 33 laps down. You continue to race out this run. Could you have imagined that you were going to come away with a 13th finish here tonight after the way that this race started for yourself?
No, I couldn't at all. And even the last couple laps, I gained an extra 2 spots and stuff. And it's better than losing everything. I wasn't even planning on racing tonight. I was actually at North Wilkesboro tonight. I'm gonna be there tomorrow night and this weekend too. And it just so happened the race rained out, and we left the track early and come to the house. And I had a friend of mine log me in and sign me up. So I got home late, but it's better to lose some points than all the points.
I mean, Kyle, it's still most likely going to put you in a must-win scenario next week at Martinsville. I mean, how are you feeling about going to Martinsville next week and having to race for a win to get yourself into that Final Four?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's kind of like I said before. I was really surprised to make it to this round, and we'll have to put some extra practice in for sure for next week. But we'll see what happens. Just do the best I can, and if we make it, we make it. If not, then we don't.
Well, Kyle, if you don't, this has still been an incredible run for us to call, and we hope to see you move on to the next round and run for that championship, because after tonight's performance, you certainly showed the mental fortitude to keep it up. But before we officially let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
I want to thank everybody that sponsors the league and stuff, and you guys for putting on a broadcast. And I was in my Smoking the Bandit truck tonight, but I forgot to change my paint scheme. I was supposed to be running my Smoking the Bandit 2 truck. But other than that, I want to thank you guys.
Well, thanks, Kyle, for being one of the best storylines in the playoffs to cover. It's been awesome to watch you again from the regular season to now. Hopefully, we'll see you perform well next week. Congratulations on 13th, and good luck at Martinsville.
Thanks.
Well, from our interviews, let's take a look at our unofficial results here tonight, because it's been a wild one. Only 10 drivers were able to stay on the lead lap, and it was a chaos that came raining down at the very end of that race. A potential caution could have came out with 2 laps to go, but it didn't strike. Instead, they stayed green, made it a 4-horse race at the end, and it's the 32 of Zach Hall grabbing his 6th win of the season, and the win that puts him in the Final 4 here at Atlanta. Ross Tatum going to be in 2nd place, Chris Stitz 3rd, Ken Campbell 4th, Nick Holland filling in for Cole Sketty, going to be in 5th. John Dart, good finish for the 99. He'll be in 6th position. Austin Call 7th. Ryan Lynch 8th. 9th goes to Christopher Wade. And Charles Hugel finishing out our top 10.
Yeah, further on down, Joshua Altus down there in 12th position after leading or being up front there for a little bit after he had contact with the 68 of Dylan Glass. Will Bustler with the damage he sustained, able to finish in 11th position as well. Kyle Carpenter, like we touched on, in 13th. Glass down there in 14th. But you go further on down, Cameron Sarton came in 2 points out from the cut line, all the way down there in 19th. Andrew Medlin, after we saw the contact with his teammate of Ken Campbell, all the way down in 20th after being involved in the big wreck for themselves. Rough nights for both those guys. Jonathan Casepier as well. We saw him hit the apron and go hard into the outside wall. They collected Philip Chavez. They finished 17th, 18th respectively. But Sam, what a wild race we saw here tonight. And who could have predicted that?
At some points, thought maybe this was all Christopher Wade. He thought Chris Stitz had the win in the bag, and it kept on ebbing and flowing throughout the night, and it's Zach Hall that gets the win, and the only driver officially locked into the next round. Plenty of points to talk about next week. Martinsville, our next destination, in the last race of the round of 8 before we solidify our Final 4 that will race at Phoenix here in 3 weeks. Certainly should be a good one, but for here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, we got plenty of other coverage to give you throughout the week, as all of our leagues are starting to come to a conclusion. We've already ended Wednesday night with the Wicked Racing League, as they had their championship race last week. Last night, we had the ISRC championship race, which leaves us with just 3 series, but we're about to be down to just 2 moving forward after this week is done, because Thursday night, it's the championship race of the Stars and Stripes, as they head to Bristol to see what the ARCA machines are gonna put down and who will grab the Season 6 championship. Then Saturday, WSSR in the Rosa Gems Cup Series, they head to Iowa for their next round of their playoffs in the Chase system. They've got 2 more races after this one, so you're gonna have to keep your eye out, because the top 6, all within 6 points of one another. That playoff and championship is wide open, just like how it is here on Tuesday night for the Full Send Racing Series. Trevor, it's kind of sad that the playoff season, the seasons are coming to an end, but man, has this playoffs been fun to cover with all these different leagues that we have here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting.
Oh, it's been a blast to cover, blast to watch, and crowning another champ on Thursday night, and then Saturday we're going short track racing at Iowa, where that championship battle has gotten really tight, and that's gonna be a great race to be up in the booth with you and call, and then right back here on Tuesday night for some more short track racing at Martinsville. It's going to be a lot of fun these next couple of days.
It certainly will be. Well, thank you everybody that joined with us here this evening on Tuesday night to watch the Full Send Racing Series. The last race of the round of 8 next week, Martinsville. You don't want to miss it. Who's joining Zach Hall to run for a championship? Can't wait for it. But for us here tonight, for myself, Sam Dyer, for Trevor Earhart, Robert Moyer Jr., and everyone else here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you for joining with us, and we will see you Thursday night for our next Freaky Fast broadcast.